Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming on a Saturday evening. Uh, super excited to be hosting this panel discussion on India 2.0 Building for Bharat. I have three of my favorite content founders here with me and would love to, quickly take 2 minutes to just quickly introduce each one of you here. So, talking about Ranjit. So, Ranjit's the co founder CEO of Pratilipi. Pratilipi is India's largest storytelling platform in Indian languages, has over 3 lakh writers across 12 languages and over 25 million monthly active readers, perhaps even more. And I think Ranjit's done a fantastic job in carving a space for, young writers and readers of Indian literature to read stories in Indian languages. And I think has brought this entire wave and made the content ecosystem super strong. So super excited to have you here with us, Ranjit.
Thank you.
And moving on, we have Supriya. Supriya's successful entrepreneurs, turn their ideas into reality, and Supriya did that too, right? Starting from college to, you know, in starting Josh Talks, which currently features one of the biggest names in business today, who share the notion of success. And at the same time, they're doing super interesting stuff with Josh Skills, which is a very new platform that they've launched to empower creators across India to create courses in different languages. And I think Supriya has some amazing stories to tell on what's happening on the ground framework. And yeah, thank you so much, Supriya, for joining in.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you for
and
having
fine, totally. And finally, to Jani. Jani, I think noting, hyper local in India, a lot of people have spoken a lot about it, but I think amazing execution by the local team and Jani's team who built a super solid product for all non-English speakers by providing them local news, classifieds, information evolving from every small meaningful use case that happens uh, to the entire to people in local cities. And I think it's led to very massive impact, as Jani was just telling us very recently. So I think super excited to have you here with us, Jani.
Same here, Anirudh.
Awesome. So great, guys. I think, I was talking to all three of them, and one thing that we realize is, India 2.0 and Bharat are probably two of the most misunderstood terms in the ecosystem right now, where, people at tech Twitter always keep thinking or telling about, okay, this is what Bharat looks like and all. But very few people know actually what's happening on the ground and how digital innovation scaling up so massively. And I think it's best that we have some of these three best founders to themselves tell their stories on how their startups are leveraging technology and their own platforms to give light to probably thousands, millions of people across India in regional languages in smaller cities. So what we how we'll put across this flow is I have a few common questions that I would love for your views to get on, and then we'll move to more specific questions. So my first question is, so what does building for Bharat actually mean? Do people often misunderstand what Bharat actually is? So how would you define Bharat, so to say? Supriya, we can probably start with you.
Sure. So, like I was saying earlier, I think whenever it comes to any stat with respect to Bharat, there is this huge amount of disbelief that people have. Like, for example, one of the recent things that I tweeted was that 90% of India has less than 30,000 rupees household income, and everybody who commented on that asked me for the source of that fact. Primarily because our echo chamber is so small that we sort of define what our country is by the 1,500 people that follow us on Twitter. So I think it's sort of been amplified as this mystical land that Bharat is so different from India. The aspirations are so different. The consumption patterns are so different. But at the end of the day, how I would sort of define it is that India is English and Bharat is vernacular, and that's the only thing that sort of sets them apart. And the aspirations remain the same. The consumption patterns remain similar. It's just that they aren't given a chance, and that's what we all as creators are doing here.
I think makes a lot of sense. Over to you, Ranjit.
I think I'll agree with Supriya in the sense, in fact,
I think one of my first posts when I started building Patlipi was that like dreams don't have a language or sapno ki koi bhasha nahi hoti, and people essentially have similar set of aspirations, similar set of things that they want to do all over the world, all over cultures. Generally, and I rarely kind of call Prathipi a Bharat product or a India 2 product, whatever. It's just a product or just a company. Having said that, if we have to define Bharat separately from India, I would like add just one dimension to Supriya's point. So one part is obviously whether they speak and consume content primarily in English versus Indian language. The other part that I would like to try and mention is that like these are also users who have like very recently started getting access to internet versus people who were kind of born or who are native to internet. In my case, I think I have had a slightly weird journey where I have spent bunch of time in a very small village and then bunch of time in Bangalore, Bombay, Delhi, and places like these. And I think language and access to technology are basically the two biggest differences that I can see.
No, I think that's very unique insight, and I think it's evolved a lot also right from when you started it. I think you're one of the very early people in the ecosystem to get this going. Over to you, Jani. What do you think?
I agree largely with Ranjit. I fundamentally don't understand ये भारत का नाम कैसा है. मतलब essentially भारत तो सब है, right? All of you, me, tier 2, tier 3 city, everyone is Bharat, right? I sometimes kind of think who coined this term कि भारत is tier 2. I still don't categorize it. Someone tell it is tier 2, tier 3. Someone tell it is vernacular. So rightly pointed out, the confusion is there. So I agree with Ranjit. The number one point is that they're prominently Indian language users. They kind of have affinity to consume content prominently in their own language, which is Telugu, Tamil, Gujarati, and the other Indian languages. The second part, which Ranjit has pointed out, it becomes really challenging because it is something in a way that there is a large opportunity for growth because a lot of users are using these products for the first time. Certain set of for local users, local is their first news application. It's the first news application, so that gives you the opportunity of growth is large, but also it's very challenging. How can you create he doesn't have a mental model, he or she doesn't have a mental model about what is a better product. Okay, and you have a mental model about what is a better product. How will you break that barrier and then unlearn and learn about what this user and build products? So that is very challenging. So I think summary of that is that नया internet user है, technology नया आ रहा है, new internet user, and language, Indian languages. So that is how we define this segment of users, where Bharat is everyone.
I think very rightly put across. These are distinctions terms, like even Ranjit was mentioning backstage, that they've just terms come and go, and what remains is the product. What remains is the messaging. So great stuff there. And Supriya, over to you. What are some grassroots trends over this entire new wave of internet users? You're telling us about people, how they're using your platform. So if you just maybe take us through what are some grassroots trends at a level that probably a lot of us won't know about.
Awesome. So, like I said earlier, I think one of the misconceptions that we all have is that they are starkly different from this India user in terms of what their aspirations are or what their consumption patterns are, what do they want to do online, etc. So, if you look at it largely, it's pretty much the same, or at least what I've seen in our users is that the first priority is entertainment. So when it does come to content consumption, even Josh Talks is not their first priority. It comes in the second, third, or even the fourth. But what's interesting is that learning has become a part of their process, and I think COVID has sort of accelerated that. But we started working on Josh Skills about 16 months back. We didn't even have a product back then. We used to teach English on a WhatsApp based curriculum. But what we've seen is the intent to want to learn online and consume learning content online has increased, and it's increased drastically in languages like Hindi and Marathi, at least for us. But when it comes to sort of aspirations, like I've seen a lot of people define this user set as someone who wants to become an IAS officer. That is not true. That is what we see online right now because of the edtech market. But not everybody in this Bharat segment wants to get into government jobs. There are a lot of people who post COVID especially are now interested in starting their own businesses. So even in terms of our content being consumed, business is actually one of our highest categories, which is viewed now, which wasn't the case earlier. The third and the most interesting trend that I've seen in the last 7 months is that we were earlier a 60 to 40 male to female platform in terms of viewership, but our Hindi channel now is actually 75% female and 25%.
Wow.
So we are also trying to figure out what happened, but yeah, there is a huge boom in terms of women now consuming our content online. So yeah.
Great. And Rajit, would you like to add some insights?
Yeah, so mostly I agree with Supriya. In fact, as earlier we were discussing the same thing. I think there are two like things which I have seen which are different from, let's say, the like people like us. One is that a lot of times decision makers, surprisingly, are actually people who are much younger, because these are the people who understand technology the best. Like in my own house, for example, like almost nobody older than me kind of is good enough to buy something online. So if they have to buy something online, it has to be one of my nephews or nieces who will basically kind of order things. Or if they have to, well, actually, there's no bill that they pay online, but like whatever they have to do. Like if, for example, they want to just load some songs, till about a year back, what used to happen was that they will go to a physical shop where the shopkeeper will load the songs so that they can then listen to them. And now, like one of my younger brothers or cousins rather, he basically says, okay, give me your phone and I'll load the songs for you so you can listen to them offline. So that is one difference that I have seen. And the second one probably is that, like, more than anything else, as I think Jani was saying earlier, these people are using a lot of these products for the first time across different categories, which means that, like, the products that really work, they have to kind of be very simplistic or intuitive to use. Like even if you remove everything else and you just put a name instead of an icon, that will a lot of times improve your conversion by like 200, 300%. And like it doesn't matter for something like Pratlipi or something like local where it's a non-transactional platform, but for transactional platforms, even small things like these make a big difference. I think these are the only two real differences that I have seen.
Got it. And what are some of the languages where you're seeing? So we know traditionally Hindi, Tamil has always been at the forefront, but what are some new languages that you're seeing that are coming up at scale, probably getting more resurrected or more mainstream going forward?
Uh, so let me first, actually, it's roughly similar. So I spend 10% of my time helping other founders, and many of these, like by definition, because I am building something for Indian language users or which is something in consumer internet. So a lot of people who reach out for advice are kind of doing something similar. In general, what I've seen is I think Hindi is almost always the largest language if you have launched multiple languages. After that, I think maybe a little bit surprisingly, but Malayalam and Bengali are also kind of pretty large for most people. And then Marathi and Tamil after that is what we have seen. For different things, the reason might be different, slightly at least. So Tamil and Marathi, I think just the internet penetration is a little bit higher. And Malayalam and Bengali, for content-based companies at least, they have a little bit more affinity towards content, which means that like even though the percentage penetration is relatively lower, they are more likely to kind of consume entertainment content and things like that.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And Jani, you were talking a lot about how COVID's changed a lot of trends, a lot of things. So would love to get how the journey's been
I
over
think
the last couple of months.
I think I will tell you about the general trend that we have seen. So essentially, the internet movement happened in September 2016 when Jio came in, where
Yeah.
everyone started getting this, and Bharat came, and we are all more excited. Whereas Ranjit was building this before 2016. The earliest trend catcher was Ranjit. Right, Ranjit, up 2016 से पहले बना रहे थे.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, what we have seen or what we are seeing today is that the initial pattern of consumption or usage of internet majority has been for entertainment and communication. I'll consume content for entertainment. खाली हूँ, बात करूँगा, which is WhatsApp, right? Majority platform. Now the migration or the use case evolution is happening where from a point from strictly for consumption to a point where now they want to make money. This is the most strong emotion that they are seeing. Essentially, they are using all the way that they're thinking internet as an opportunity to make money. Then there are multiple parts of it, right? One is that, that is the reason why the Dream 11 MPLs are growing crazily, because you can make money. The second part is that, I stay at a location, the job opportunities are limited. Can I do something on internet to make money? Maybe I can upskill some of my, personal skills, but that is what Supriya is mentioning. And some of them are just downloading applications and, paisa banao. So I have seen that as a strong pattern emerging, and all the companies that will be focusing on, giving opportunities, upskilling, or making users get some money, or users can make some money, will have a very strong growth for the next, maybe 2-3 years. Or in fact, if they are creating, sustainable money, it will stay for lifelong. Making money is a very strong emotion.
Makes sense. And when you say rap educates people on a very ground level basis, so who are these people who are helping you curate at such a deep network?
So, for all the people who don't know Local, so I'll just give an introduction before going to that part. So, Local is a very hyper local platform. Essentially, we give, for us, the hyper local definition is a small town, a town of 20,000, 30,000 people. It starts with essentially 15,000 people to 1.5 to 2 lakh people. That's a town definition. So you kind of access the application, go to your town, and then get all wide aspects of content, which is essentially community updates. What are the sabji mandi prices? What are the job opportunities? What are matrimonials that are available? So essentially, hyper-local newspaper is what we are trying to replicate online. And the thing that the way in which we are doing is that we have people on ground who are part of the community, who are updating this using their mobile, and they are making money doing this. And the people in that town are consuming this content, and we have seen the emotion of making money is still existent. So a lot of businesses are also using internet in a very innovative way to make more money, that is, get more customers. They're distributing their clothes and everything on WhatsApp. They're seeing, is there any platform that can give me more visibility, or can make my name stand among the consumers or users. So we are monetizing in most of our prominent locations as well. So that is what we are doing. And so all the content is being created by the people in the community who are not new people. Essentially, these people used to be, they used to work for newspapers. They are called stringers. For a couple of decades, newspapers have created this network of people across the country. So we just made them come online. And mobile is the change that made it very easy for them to come online and then build their audience at a location level.
Makes sense. And I think I'll jump down to this wave of entire creators monetizing their work, and platforms assisting them in the same. And I think Supriya would love to take a deeper dive there with you on how you're using this Josh Skills platform to get that going, and the entire concept basically.
Got it. So, we've been running Josh Talks actually for 5 years, since I was in college in 2015. And at that point of time, I think the biggest thing that we wanted to really do was that we felt the audience that we speak to wasn't motivated enough to do something. Or, there was this huge information asymmetry in terms of who they can actually become or be, or, the baggage of the background that they have, etc., which they have to let go of. So it took us a pretty long time to actually figure it out in terms of what are the aspirations of this audience and how can we get them, really charged up. And that's why Josh. But I think one of the biggest things that we realized and started to realize at scale about 1 year ago is that we were getting them charged up, but there was still this feeling of not knowing where to go. There was this lack of direction, and people were coming back and asking for help again and again and again. कि भैया अब ठीक है, मतलब आपने बता दिया कि मैं बिजनेस शुरू कर सकता हूँ, बट मुझे तो पता ही नहीं है कि मेडिकल स्टोर होता कैसे है, बनता कैसे है, इसकी लाइसेंस कहाँ से आएगी, ये कैसे होगा, वो कैसे होगा. So I think that's the problem statement that we set out to solve for. That how can we basically equip people with enough information to either start their own businesses or upskill themselves in a period which is, say, short, 3 to 6 months, so that their household income can increase drastically. So we've set out on our journey now, and it's fairly early, but I think one of the biggest problems that we see and have continued to see in this audience is English speaking. And that's what we went after first. Although there are 100 and 1000 apps right now which are teaching English, speaking in English fluently continues to still be a problem. So we've addressed that, and we have a huge user base there. And now we're learning more from, what are the aspirations of this audience that has completed this first course with us, and building subsequent courses with them. But I think what's super interesting is that what we are doing is we are not showing the big stars of people who are, predominant in the ecosystem or are like big businessmen on screen that people can emulate. We are actually getting a kirana shop owner to come back and do a course on how he increased his income from 15 to 30,000 rupees. So very, very sort of grassroots level information that can actually help people, and is super relatable to them. And what that's done is that there is a huge set of creators now that want to come up and do these courses or make content. They're seeing the potential in key. Even if I am say not as successful as others, my advice to others is actually valuable, and I can build an income stream out of it. And that's how we're sort of going about the process of creation.
Got it. And I would love to get any examples of what kind of creators have come on board or done some courses
Yeah,
on this.
so I was mentioning earlier there is MN Hemant, who's basically from a very small village, humble background. Absolutely, he records everything in a 4x4 room. Works only after 3 a.m. because the noise and the construction and all the sound basically goes away then. And he's almost near 100K subscribers on YouTube, and he's actually created one of our most popular courses, which is learn how to edit videos online on your mobile. So it's simple. He doesn't teach any hardcore technical gyan, but he basically teaches you basic free softwares that are available. And what we've seen as a result of that is that people who've actually taken his course have become YouTubers. So since they've learned the art of editing videos, I think there are 9,000 people who've taken that course, and we actually have stories about 50 creators who've come up after that. So it's super interesting. And again, this is in Hindi. So yeah.
Insane. I think huge recall there. And Ranjit, last I'd heard is there still something around Pratilipi Premium that's happening where there's more premium content, or is there any monetization level for creators on your platform? Or are you thinking about in that space?
So actually, before that, let me give a caveat because I think this is a mistake that a lot of armchair experts kind of make, which is assume that like everybody has the same aspiration. Uh, so like a lot of discussions around creator tools, for example, assume that every creator essentially just wants to make more and more money, and that's about it. That's largely not true for a wide variety of fields and wide variety of people. So people generally, at least in my experience, may have different kind of aspirations. Some people want to have a bigger audience. Some people want to have more social proof. They want to be known and respected within their community. In fact, the stringers, for example, that I have spoken with, most of them, like they used to make money from newspapers, of course, but their primary thing was that I am the one who can break their story, and like everybody near about knows me. So if they have X or Y or Z happening, like I am the first guy that they talk to.
Yeah.
I know the police guys and so on and so forth. And then, of course, like some people care about money, some people care about their personal brand, which can help them in their later career and things like that. So I think we have to kind of first of all understand that. Now, coming to your more specific question, case of Pratilipi. So the way we think about monetization is that different products may have different monetization. So now we have 4 products after IVM. For core product, the basic thesis is that vast majority of content is and will remain free because that is kind of the vision that we started off with, and that's not something that we want to compromise on. What will essentially happen is that if people want to support certain creators, then they can subscribe to these creators, and in return they get access to certain exclusive features and certain exclusive content. They can also give these creators things and so on and so forth. But the basic premise is it's only if you want to pay and not necessarily that you have to pay. In fact, I think so. We have recently started monetization on Pratilipi Comics about a month back, maybe month and a half back. There as well, the content itself is free. It's just that a new chapter is released every week, and if you don't want to wait for a week, then you can pay upfront and you can read that today.
Got it.
Otherwise, you just wait for a week and it's free again. So like different products will have slightly different monetization. One I think interesting part about Pratilipi's monetization at least is that like essentially what we are doing is we are buying the most popular IPs on Pratilipi, and
Okay.
then hopefully some of these IPs we will convert into different formats. Some of these IPs will license to, let's say, to Netflix for a movie series, to Penguin for a book series, to someone else for a game series, and so on and so forth. So that IP licensing is probably going to be a much bigger revenue stream over a long period.
I think that's a very different insight. In fact, last time when I was talking to Vinay from Stage and Harsh from Your Coat, those people are also doing very interesting stuff. That very old culture of tipping or encouraging more creators to come across. So I think that's a very unheard of model, at least for me, and I think great stuff there. So I think let's jump to more specific questions. So Jani, wanted to know how did this entire journey about local started? As in, how did it come up? Where did you get the inspiration from? And how long has it been like?
So yeah, I'll explain you like what we are trying to solve, and then I'll tell you like how we came around here. So
Yeah.
we kind of started by building a news application around when Trump won the elections in 2016. He won, and 2017 around we started building a news application trying to solve the fake news problem, the echo chamber problem in English. No one used it. It was like a disaster, and then we kind of then try to understand from different users. News is a large market, there should be some problem. So the idealistic want to solve echo chamber, want to solve fake news is not a problem. It's a larger problem, but do users really have a need or not is not validated. So we kind of then try to explore what people consume, where do they consume, and essentially we landed on building local. So what local essentially is, we believe this strongly. Before internet, pre-internet, people used to consume content from TV, radio, books, magazines, and newspaper. These are the only mediums that used to exist apart from the chat that they do among their friends. So newspaper used to be the place that used to give you the information. It is the king of at a location level. All the local businesses advertising there, all the classifieds happening there. If you want a job, you go to newspaper. If you want to get married, matrimonial, that's a newspaper. When internet came, because newspaper was not a technology company, news came, and all the other parts were built by someone big, like jobs piece was built by Naukri, classifieds Craigslist, or OLX or Cooker is trying here, and then you have Shadi.com, matrimonials is built by a technology player. What I believe is that essentially, if news platforms were, or news publishers, or news businesses were technology companies, they would have been the first super apps at a location level, solving multiple problems at a location. The same opportunity exists today for non-English speaking users, which is Indian language users. For them, before internet, pre-2016, the internet is only about the consumption is through paper, TV, radio, magazine, books. Then WhatsApp came. Today they are using it for entertainment and communication. For us, the essential thought process is to be that super app at a location and solve all that use case. And the opportunity exists today. It won't exist in some time because someone will essentially build each of that pieces out. So started by building a very vague problem of news. I remember I met Pratilipi, Ranjit also. Ranjit was kind enough to give me some time. He gives time to entrepreneurs who are building in related spaces, and he also kind of said and he gave some direction of what is happening. So we kind of it's a journey where we kind of figured out, and then eventually essentially found a problem. There was a large need, and then how we believe it will transition is something that is very inspiring for us to think or build together with our team. Yeah. So yeah, I think that is something that talks about our journey and where we are going.
I think super interesting. And Supriya, how did the journey from college to Josh Talks and now to diversifying into different areas? How's that been like? And what was the primary motivation for you?
Yeah, I think the primary motivation was sort of my own frustration at being confused in life. So I'm like a typical good student, like grown up my entire life wanting 99% and SRCC. I live in Delhi, and my parents, matlab, everything was conditioned in a way कि मेरे को SRCC मिल जाए. And when that didn't happen after giving it all, and I missed it by 0.5, I came to this realization that I've just spent sort of like a directionless life for the last 18 years. And there was this huge amount of confusion in what can I do next. Who should I reach out to, who should I talk to, who's going to give me, a sense of direction on where I can actually head. Because everybody in my class who was doing BCom honors was doing CA. So I started doing CA, and then I hated that as well. And I think it was during sort of that time that I actually started speaking to a lot of other people, a lot of people from different cities, a lot of people who didn't come from, say, the privileged background that I had. And I realized that this is a problem of plenty. It's not just me. There are people who have the same problem, who are still, confused about what next to do in life, but don't even have the sense of direction that I've been given up until now. And that's a problem to solve for. So the idea behind Josh was simply that, how do we get people who've lived the life that we are going to be living in the next 10 to 15 years to come back and share their story? Simple, vulnerable, like just talking about what it took to get there. And not gyan about AI, ML, and the future of technology, etc., which this audience doesn't understand. And we did that. It's been a super long journey. Like, we've done it for 5 years. We've been building primarily on YouTube. We took it from English to Hindi to 10 other regional languages, and we have a solid distribution now. And it was only last year that we started, digging deeper into what is the problem set that this audience continues to have. And one of the reasons, or the barriers that we came across was English speaking. That still continues to be a problem, even though there are so many companies solving for it in India right now. So we just decided to take our take on it. We created a WhatsApp course for 90 days, wherein every day through the voice note feature, we used to send a class, and everybody through the voice note feature used to send it back to us as homework. And that picked up really well. In 45 days, we had 10,000 people, and people had paid. So that was again this wow thing. Oh my God, this audience actually pays and is not just, a consumer of content. And when that happened is when we started putting pieces together and created Josh Skills as it sort of exists now.
Right. And what does the long term look like? What are areas where you would want to double down on? Is Josh Talk still something you're super on the sidelines, or it's primarily now Josh Skills?
So Josh Talks will continue to be the core, because Josh Talks is like, in VC world, it's our funnel, and we have to continue to grow the tofu. But actually, what we're trying to do with Josh is now diversify into, say, even niche content pieces. So, for example, have a Josh Finance, Josh Business, Josh Women, and grow that, and in languages as well. And then we want to start doubling down on products that can actually create this whole ecosystem for our user. So the goal is, and it sounds super cheesy and corny, but our, sort of idea is that when a security guard's son goes to his father 5 years from now and asks that, ki mujhe ye karna hai ya mujhe wo karna hai, all the father should say is that you need Josh in your heart and on your mobile phone, and you'll be successful. Yes. So everything that it takes to get this guy or girl to become successful, we want to do everything. So, yeah.
I think that's a very, very interesting goal to have, and great thoughts there. And Ranjit, in general, I think a lot of people have asked you this. It should have been a saturated question. How did you go about starting? And where you in your journey now? It's been 6 years doing this constantly, even more. And with this recent introductions in the Pratilipi family, where you looking towards making this ecosystem grow?
Sure. So I'll actually tell the shorter version of the story, because, as you rightly said, I have given the longer version 10,000 times, and now even I am bored. Basic premise was very, very simple. I am a voracious reader, and I thought that this seems ridiculous that I can't find something to read in Hindi. It should be my choice if I want to read Hindi or English or something else. It should not be because of lack of access. Like that. So I did not want to build Pratilipi, to be fair. My thought process was that I should probably build a more ops-heavy company, because that's where my strengths would lie. It's just that nobody else was building this, and I thought, okay, I want this solved, so let me give it a shot.
Yeah.
But obviously, that was a personal problem. But the thesis largely was that language should not be a barrier for almost anything. And then we broadly essentially said that we are going to basically build a storytelling platform across languages, formats, geographies, whatever. Obviously, early on, most people did not really believe that what I was saying is what we are going to do. So everybody was essentially looking at us like a reading writing platform. But now I think with Pratilipi Comics, FM, and IVM, I think now things are coming a little bit together. Plus, you should see hopefully a bunch of movies and TV series made on Pratilipi stories next year. So now the kind of things that we were talking about are kind of getting started. Uh, so essentially, I think we are like maybe 1% done, maybe less than that. The broader thesis largely is that what, like something like what Disney has done, but on infinite scale, where you kind of build a platform where people can create stories in any format, any language, any device, figure out like the best stories from these, and then help them convert them into like massive franchises on their own. So hopefully, the next Game of Thrones and the next uh, Harry Potter comes from the Clippy. That's largely the goal over next 10, 15, 20 years.
I think that's quite a goal. It's quite a goal. Great. I think circling back, Jani, one very key thing's always been misinformation that's happened, and media literacy in general is more like an urban term, but even at a grassroots level, especially during COVID, these are very sensitive times. Any misinformation, especially where this lack of education causes a lot of panic immediately. How have you been figuring that around, especially at such a hyper scale?
So essentially, with the way in which news is built everywhere around the world, the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of news is that कि यार fake है या bias है या polarity है. But when you take it to a location or a community level, let's say, they are more like the information that majorly happens on our platform is that कि मंदिर खुल गया, ठीक है, वहां पे रोड में गड्ढा खुदा हुआ है, मत जाओ, ठीक है, एक पॉलिटिशियन गए, नया शॉप ओपन किया, शॉप वाला बता रहा है, ठीक है. सो एक तो द कैटेगराइजेशन ऑफ न्यूज is very hyper local in nature, so that solves a majority of the problem. The second thing is that the people who are creating the content are part of that community. It's a 25,000, 15,000 to 2.5 lakh people communities, where the guy who is creating content, more often than not, our initial creators at a location, people know them, वो already stringers थे. तो for them credibility is more important, like what Ranjit is telling, right? मेरी जो existence है ना यहाँ पे, मैं micro influencer हूँ, I'm a micro influencer in that location. I'm breaking the news faster, I'm more credible. And also there is kind of this kind of thought process that if I write गलत लिख दूंगा, लोग आके मार देंगे मुझे, right? Inbuilt scare. So essentially this self-correcting things take care majority of the part, but we still have moderation teams in place where people, every content piece that gets published, there are some content guidelines on which they will moderate the content. So this is how we kind of have community updates delivered at a location. So yeah, so I was really scared before launching this. How will this happen? Everyone has the same question, but it's been 2.5 years I'm building this. So I can confidently say that, we were able to, the platform itself is able to take care of these things, pretty accurately, or at a very good level.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Supriya, you've been, going around sharing stories of such wonderful people to the entire audiences. What's your personal favorite story of, all the different kind of people you've brought on the platform? And say one person or one story that you really admire or would love to, share with us.
Yeah. So I think one of the stories that sort of remains closest to my heart is a story that I helped curate, which was in I think 2015. It was our first event outside of Delhi, so it was in Bombay, and Josh actually began as like an event series which happened across campuses in India. And there was this girl Sheetal, who basically 2 minutes before going on stage started crying and said that I can't do this, I can't go and speak in front of the audience. But her story was that of being the daughter of a bar dancer and actually winning 100% scholarship to the US drum school. So typical Mumbai-ite during Ganpati festival used to listen to all the dhol and started making her beats at home on her own. And then through the help of an NGO called Krati, actually got this scholarship. And she came to Josh for the very first time and shared her story in public. And I have never seen, a standing ovation by 500 people just howling and crying, and I'm backstage and crying. But I think that remains like a story that's closest to my heart.
Makes sense. Great. I think but finally to Ranjit, I think this is one of the few last questions. So Ranjit, with IBM coming in, and right, perhaps it's always been a lot of writers And when a medium changes, especially when talking about audio, just maybe a year back, if this was 2019, there was this huge audio wave, lot of audio podcast startups coming up, everything happening, and everyone was like, "Ki audio is the thing," and people were excited, but still I don't know why utna abhi bhi still there's not a lot of catch around it. But with IVM coming in, podcasting has a very different experience. How has audio been a shapeshifter, especially at the grassroots level? uh,
The honest answer, it hasn't been. Having said so, as I was saying earlier as well, I don't really follow or kind of worry too much about trends and fads. These things kind of come and go. I'm a lot more, as in, I worry a lot more about long-term macro things, and like both on the positive side, both on the upside and on the downside. Like otherwise, it doesn't really matter. So in fact, as an example, Jani, the reason why we had started was because I was working with Vodafone and I could see that data prices are going down consistently over the last 6, 7, 8 years. Geo, no Geo, number of people on the internet had to increase, data prices had to go down. It's just that what would have happened in 10 years, Geo did that in 2 years. Sorry.
Which is massive. Which is massive.
Absolutely massive. Like I have a lot of respect for them. All I'm trying to say is that like these kind of things you can't plan for, but versus
Yeah.
data prices are going to go down, that you can plan for. Like Larry famously said that like cost of bandwidth is going to go down. Is it's almost science. Like it's almost like Moore's law. That's going to happen over a period of time. So similarly for audio, like right now the market is minuscule. Right now frequency and retention are absolutely terrible. We simply don't have enough high quality content in audio, even in English. Forget about like Indian languages, like, very very minuscule, and that is including Pratipi, including all the other people. It's simply not enough liquidity in the market. But do I believe that in 5 years or 10 years, audio is going to be one of the major formats? That's absolutely 100% going to be the case. So we are essentially just saying that instead of waiting for that to happen, let us invest and build the supply, get to that liquidity, so we are ready when that happens. Whether that will happen in 6 months, whether that will happen in 2, 3 years, we don't know. But whether that will happen, I think that's like almost 100% sure.
Definitely. I think, yeah, because with IVM and Pratip, I think, and with all your expansion plans, look super interesting and super exciting to see a very interesting blend of things happening. And the part about the IP stuff is, that excites me a lot, about some originals coming out. So that's going to be a first. So
Exciting.
awesome. So awesome. I think that's great. So one final message each from each one of you for creators out there in the ecosystem, about how they can get going via your platforms or via platforms in general, or how can they go about building and getting to things like you guys did from the start. So we could start with Jani.
So from my side, I think I can tell you probably one hack that I think that we have seen. Essentially, the creator ecosystem always existed, right? With the people writing books, TV channels, and everywhere, radio also. All these are creators, but it was super closed previously. Now with internet coming in, it kind of democratized with tools and access. It democratized the content creation. For you to build audience, I think one thing that has been very promising trend recently is that there are more platforms coming in apart from the traditional platforms of Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. So for you to build a million audience today on YouTube is significantly tougher for you to build any recent new platform coming up. Let's say where the competition is less, the format, you will be the first one trying out. So if you want to build an audience, you should be experimentative in trying new platforms as well. Either that can be Pratilipi, or either that can be a platform which was TikTok Hello previously. So that is how you can start build an audience, and then cross migration happens. If you have a lot of audience, they will migrate essentially for Instagram for you. Already they are using that product. So that is how we can think about building an audience and hacking the initial audience by leveraging the upcoming platforms. So that's one message.
Great news. I think
News.
that's
Sorry.
sorry. Great.
मतलब ऐसा लगता है कि
Great
सबको
thoughts.
मुझे देख के लगता है न्यूज़ के अलावा कुछ बोलेगा
No,
नहीं.
no, I think great thoughts around that. Supriya.
Yeah, I think similar to what Jani said. if not now, really when? I mean, now is the time to get up and actually start creating. The entire ecosystem is supporting creation. There are tools to use, there are platforms to distribute on. But I think what has worked in our favor, and I've seen that with a lot of other creators, is authenticity and really knowing your audience deep enough to keep building for them. So whether it's any of our platforms or if it's simply even WhatsApp, like we used WhatsApp because we knew our audience spends time on WhatsApp, and it took us less than 30 days to grow over there. So just identify that who are you really creating for, and distribution will set its own self up for you.
Great. And Ranjit, one final message from your end.
So I think I have two pieces of advice for creators, irrespective whether they are content creators or founders or product managers. I think both of these still probably will apply. One is that I think a lot of people that I see kind of somehow believe that the world is a zero-sum game where like if you want to win, then somebody has to lose. In general, in vast majority of fields, the world is not a zero-sum game, and generally, in fact, the people who kind of get to the top are people who are helping others the most as well. Like, for example, in fact, I was just reading about this that like one of the best performing investors of all time is Ron Conway from SV Angels, and he is probably the most helpful investor in the world as well. And the same has been true for almost everyone, even in very competitive fields. There are very rare exceptions. So one is I think just go and interact more with your audience, with other creators, depending on the field that you are in, and both of you will likely help each other versus like it being like a net negative. And the second essentially is probably just realizing, like actually internalizing the power of compounding. A lot of times I think people kind of overestimate what can happen in one day, and they like very greatly under kind of appreciate what can happen in a decade. Like if you keep at it and if you're moving in the right direction, great things happen. Like including for example, Harry Potter is the second highest selling book of all time after Bible. And like it took a bunch of time before Harry Potter became Harry Potter. 26 publishers rejected that before even publishing it. That's just how it is. So I think the like actually internalizing the power of compounding and long-term patience, and understanding that the world usually is not a zero-sum game, and usually it's better to kind of help others, would probably be the two advices that I have.
And this is the advice for everyone, as in
Yeah.
not only creators, for everyone. Yeah, it kind of is true.
Oh, wonderful. I think that marks the end of this session. Thank you so much, guys, for being so gracious with your time and for giving us all these wonderful thoughts around what you're building. And yeah, I think we have a lot of expectations coming up from Pratilipi, Local, Supriya, Joe Stocks, and Joe Skills, and the kind of wonderful stuff they have for creators across the nation. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And
We expect the same from Pepper content as well. So
definitely, we're there with you guys. Great, awesome. Thank you.
thanks for the session.
Great being here.
Same, nice meeting you, Ranjit, after a long time, and nice meeting you, Supriya, for the first time.
Thank you. See you
Yeah.
guys.
See you guys.
Awesome. Bye.